Welcome back to Hashtag Single with Jeanette Bonner. I am not a relationship expert or sex therapist. I'm just a regular New York City woman navigating the world as a single, independent feminist. Hashtag Single is about having honest conversations with other singles in today's device-obsessed culture. So I hope you'll join me on this interesting, challenging, and complex journey as we navigate the ins and outs of singledom. Hey everybody, welcome back to Hashtag Single. I am your host, Jeanette Bonner. And it is a really exciting day because today is the birthday of Hashtag Single. You guys,
saw that.
I launched this podcast with my friend Tracy on October 22nd in 2018. And the funny thing is, it's also my parents' anniversary. And so I sent out like an email today that was like, happy birthday, Hashtag Single. And I put in it like 10 years of being single and 1 year of not apologizing for it. And my mom was like, is this like a happy anniversary email?
Plus also the people who gave birth to me.
Yeah, she was like, I don't know. This is super ironic to receive on our anniversary. I was like, you're right. I don't even know what that means. But anyway, guys, so it is a really exciting day because we put the sing in single.
Yes.
I had to. Okay. Oh, so I'm here with my friend Rachel. Thank you for being here. And Rachel's friend, Will.
Hello.
Will has trusted, he just met me 4 minutes ago, and he's trusted his life in my hands. It's very brave, and thank you for being here.
It's my pleasure.
So you are the voice of the patriarchy on Hashtag Single, so I'm going to ask you to sit back and listen for a little bit, and we'll check back in with you as soon as we're ready, basically. Those are the rules.
Cool.
So Rachel...
Hi.
You and I have talked a lot about being single, but let's tell our audience, where are you in your single journey?
It's a long and windy journey.
It sure is, girl.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm kind of a little bit on the same page in terms of the acceptance factor of what you were describing as a year of being okay
not
with
apologizing.
Not apologizing. Yeah, I am a professional artist and producer and actor and writer, and have a lot of career aspirations that fulfill me in ways that it requires a lot of my focus and time and creative energy, and feeling unapologetic about giving that time and energy to those things as opposed to bullshit dating experiences that I mean, I've dated some lovely people who have just not been my person, but ultimately, I feel like I would like to find someone whose company and, someone whose partnership complements my life, but also fosters my growth.
Yeah.
And those are things that I think a lot of other people also want. It just tends to be difficult for ambitious people to sync up in that way. And I've accepted that. And I think I have had much more satisfying relationships, both platonic and romantic, with that in mind.
Right. I'm just going to say it. Your standards are high. No, and that's not like
Exactly.
a negative thing.
Yeah.
I'm unapologetic about the fact that my standards are high because we have very busy lives. We have lives that we're very passionate about, that we've given things up for, that we've crafted for our own values. Yep. So if I'm going to invite another person into my life, it better be someone who adds value and does not waste my time. You know what I mean?
100%. Yeah.
I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think that a lot of the women I've had on the podcast are like exactly that definition.
Yep.
High standards. I don't have time for bullshit. I got other stuff to do. How long have you been single?
I was in an 8-year relationship in my 20s.
Yeah, mine was 5.5.
Yeah, and so when I left that relationship and started online dating, it was like this whole revolution had taken place online in the time when I had been in a long-term relationship. And so that was a little bizarre to sort of wake up one day and have this whole it's
culture.
Really,
it's culture.
And it's a whole practice of standards that are designed in a lot of ways to like keep you coming back and to keep you looking even when the options are potentially
there's an addictive quality.
There's an addictive quality. Yeah. There's a lot of self-care that is necessary in order to execute that practice well. I mean, these are very technical terms to talk about something that is supposed to happen, naturally.
Yeah.
In terms of, a relationship is an organic thing. And we have sort of moved on from a lot of us have moved on from the practices of having someone set us up and giving our life over to a stranger and building a life with a stranger, which, who knows, that might actually make more sense sometimes.
No, but I think you hit on a really interesting point is that like it's almost like they've taken the human quality out of it. The whole point of matching is like it's human behavior and it's human chemistry. And you've literally, it can't be, it's not just dehumanizing. Yeah. It's there's no organic, natural human communication that is happening.
Well, and there's so much
between individuals.
Yeah, and there's it's set up for a lot of problems. It's set up for a lot of failure. And then people are working with that as their paradigm, right? Like they're showing up for these interactions with a lot of skepticism because they've been burned in the past, right?
Yeah. And
and I think, we've all gotten pretty jaded, and I go through periods of feeling more, willing to be vulnerable for the sake of the attempt of actually syncing up with somebody on a romantic, spiritual, empathetic, human level. And sometimes that's worked out, and I think it really depends on where I'm at emotionally at the time, how much bandwidth I have to like show up and deal with somebody else's baggage. Yeah. And I recognize that is the way that life works. I have bandwidth to go through those things with friends, and my willingness to do that with a stranger has got to be
so true,
fostered by like either really good chemistry or like a really good like
body?
First impression body. Yes, that too.
If you are super hot, I'm much more willing to put up with your bullshit.
I mean,
not a lot.
But I did, when I first started dating after this long-term relationship, I felt like I had a lot of tools for being in a relationship, for being in a healthy relationship, because I left a relationship that was healthy by a lot of measures, and had really high expectations for the way that others might come to the table. And I had there was about a year where I fielded emails from anybody who wrote me, and I on dating apps, and would politely decline if I wasn't feeling it, and I would get into and I on my profile it said something. I think it still might say this with more of a caveat, but that I approached the online dating much like one would approach being at a bar and having someone approach you, ask if they could buy you a drink or introduce themselves.
Ignore them.
Right, exactly. Like it seemed so, and coming out of this healthy relationship and dumped into this online dating scene that I had not previously had any experience, I was really unwilling to disregard the humanity of people who showed up to pay me compliments. You know, it's like that was really. But then about a year in, and you start seeing more, people who will turn on a dime and call you a cunt or a whore or tell you you're whatever. After some interaction where you're like, I didn't say anything, like that's so unwarranted, and that's
I'm trying to be nice to you.
So recognizing that there is need for a certain amount of self-care involved in the process. And, I think that the past year for me has been – I had a 9-month relationship last year and been single for about 6 months now. And, that was – I think at this point my goal has been to really define and take a closer look at my boundaries and what it is that I invite by my own – behavior. And,
I love that you take responsibility for it. I think that's such a female thing. You're sort of like, this thing happened and it may have not been a positive outcome. What can I do to make sure that doesn't go forward? Or what can I do to make myself a better person so this may not happen again? I
mean, I think it also it comes down to wanting to attract the same, right? Like I'm not taking full responsibility. I'm taking responsibility for my side
for your
of the
own
street,
actions.
But in order to be a more compelling / accountable person in a relationship, right? I wouldn't want to be with someone who doesn't have that willingness to show up and be responsible for their own shit, if that's where you're coming from, next, I don't have time for that.
Agreed. But a lot of people come out of a relationship and their first reaction is blame. Yeah, because it's really hard to look inwards and be like, okay, maybe what did I not do great? So I commend you for that. You seem grown to me, girl.
Oh, thanks, hon. I appreciate it.
You're doing great. So are you back on online dating?
On the horse. Yes, I am. I've been on a handful of dates. Was seeing somebody over the summer who sort of ghosted in a way that was predictable. He told me he was in the middle of a lot.
The nice setup of hey, I maybe not respond to you in the future, just so you know.
Yeah, and then came knocking again recently, and I felt really good about the fact that I was like, okay, great. You can take. We will go out. I'm not inviting you over for the first time in 2 months for a booty call because I don't know that that's what I want. I don't know I don't have a read on what your agenda is now.
You don't want to go through the spin
is.
cycle of doing that all over again anyway.
And he basically sort of dropped the ball on getting together and, was like, oh, I'm not going to be able to meet you until 9:00 or whatever. I was like, cool, let's do it another time, and haven't heard from him since, So thank you for weeding yourself out.
I'm giving you lots of claps and snaps, girl. Yep. That is one of the hardest things for people to do, I think, is to actually set up your own boundaries and say, this is okay for me, this is not okay for me. And no, sorry, I don't do that.
Yeah. I'm a very, I think it's fair to say I'm a flirtatious person. I get a lot of energy from, being vulnerable with people and making other people feel good with my attention. And, I get that probably I want that to be a genuine exchange of energy as opposed to one that makes, somebody – I don't know where I'm going with this. You might cut this out.
Well, now I
am. What was the – I'm trying to remember. What was my train of thought?
I was so into it, too.
I know. Wait. Let me see if I can get it back.
About flirting, and you want to have a genuine connection with someone as opposed to –
Oh, right. So I can get that, and I can explore those aspects of practicing boundaries and vulnerability with people in a way that is fair and
I hear what you're saying because you think you're and me too. I'm a very extroverted person and I give a lot of my energy away, and so it actually takes a lot of practice to put a cap on that energy and your space and say, no, I'm not going to respond to you. No, I'm not going to. I have a really hard time not being the last person responding to a text.
Totally.
I hate seeing that little, you're next.
Totally.
You're next. You should be that. You should be responding. And I'm aware of that. And especially with men of being you know what? I can wait for you to get back to me.
And the whole crumbs, working so hard to get crumbs from somebody else is that is not going to fly. Like, I think I have really just gotten to a point where if somebody is ready and interested in showing up, you know, on a comparable level, and, you know, it takes conversation, it takes, you know, transparency and communication, and that's what I like in my relationships. That's what I like in my sex. That's what I like in my exchanges with people in general, to be able to say, like, I am trying to communicate with you with integrity and honor your boundaries too. But at the end of the day, like, I have to show up for myself first,
yes,
and put my own oxygen mask on.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. You have to put your own oxygen mask on first.
Word. Yes.
That's really well said.
Oh, well, it's not mine. It was JetBlue, I think.
Wonderful. I like stealing JetBlue logos, or rather mottos, and like applying them to dating and to our own personal lives, which is really important.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Thank you for that. That's like, I feel like that's a whole episode in itself. I'm just going to end it right there.
Cool.
Those are Rachel's thoughts.
Meandering as they were.
It wasn't meandering, and I think you have really intentional ideas around dating. And this is why you and I vibed about it so well, because it's taken me a long time to get there too, and to take ownership of not just my actions, but the way I want to be treated. And so you're not just like responding to energy, but you're cultivating energy. Yeah. So you're saying, like, I don't want this exchange. I'm ending this. You know, I don't have to go on a date with you just because you said you like my photo, or et cetera, et cetera. That comes up a lot for me. I feel like, and I'm like, so it's my responsibility to start this conversation, and it's my responsibility now to ask you out and to do something about it. I'm over it.
Nope.
I'm over it.
Nope.
I have like a big thing I want to talk about on this episode today. So I'm going to break my own rules a little bit, and we're going to check in with Will now.
Whoa.
I know.
Game changer.
It is, because I actually want both of your opinions and perspective on the thing that I want to talk about today. So, Will, let's talk about you.
Okay.
Where are you at in your single journey?
I am single. Rachel and I spent like a huge chunk of Saturday, I think it was, talking about this. So,
did she coach you? Was she prepping
no,
you?
No.
Not about this specifically, just what he's about to tell you.
Okay.
So she's just going to have to suffer through it again. I'm in a pretty similar place to what she described. I'm a teacher and I'm a writer, and I'm really busy in a way that I'm happy with. And I think something that you said resonated too, about like, if I'm going to give my time to someone at this point, like, I value my time more than I used to. And so I am dating, but I'm also, my standards are a little higher than they were probably certainly in my 20s and early 30s. And, I want to spend time with people who, are going to be kind and who are going to, not ghost, or not, who I feel like I can build some kind of trust with.
Yeah.
And, it's felt good to kind of make that decision.
And you know what's so sad is, like, that is such a simple sentence. And like, it's a basic right that everybody deserves.
Yeah.
And it's so hard for so many of us to come to that conclusion and to put ourselves first, put your own oxygen mask on first, and say, this is not okay for me.
Yeah, I think it took me a long time to kind of value that.
It's crazy. I don't know why that is.
Yeah, that would be an interesting thing to try to
I think because we want to be desired. And so we want to be wanted so bad that you're like waiting for someone to say yes to you, instead of setting up your own structure for your life and designing who that person might be that you're allowing to enter into your life, instead of like waiting to be picked, I guess.
Yeah. I hadn't thought about it that way, but I think that's right. And I think sometimes that desire to be desired is so strong, especially in New York, where you can feel so kind of – I've lived here for a while and I love it, but you can feel very much like you're kind of on your own planet in your little apartment or your little room.
Yeah, very isolating.
So, yeah, I think that desire to connect and to be desired is like really powerful here, and can overwhelm all of your better judgment really, really easily.
I hear you. How long have you been single?
A couple of years now. I've dated people for, months at a time, but nothing more serious than a few months for a few years. I took like a whole year off, which felt great.
Isn't it so good?
Yeah. was kind of amazed at how easy it was once I kind of stopped thinking about it.
I've never done a year. I took the summer off. I gave myself that gift. And it was actually really hard to like – it's like if you're saying like I'm not going to go to the gym for 6 months and then the 6 months ends and you're like, all right, totally. I got to go back. I don't want to go back. No, I got to go back. Damn it. You know, I was like, dating should not be like that, by the way. It shouldn't be like, God damn it, I have to go back on the damn apps again. Are you on online? Are you?
I'm online. I'm trying to be very not active on it. Like I'm trying to, you know, be
meet in real life.
Yeah. And one person who I met at the end of the summer, I've been seeing for just like a month or two, and that's been really nice and has been that like sort of kindness. And so
good.
I'm just like, okay, good. That's perfect for right now.
Nice. Yeah. I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah.
So speaking of getting back in the dating game, literally the first date I went on after my break.
Oh, no.
Okay, wait. Here's the setup. So you need to know this person, he was 32. And he was living at home with his parents.
Presumably still is. You didn't murder him.
No. Don't ask embarrassing questions.
I mean,
this is the Halloween episode. Like, is he? Creepy music. So he lives at home with his parents. He's been in Westport, Connecticut, and he's been living there for a year and a half. And the reason why is that he's been trying to raise money. And by the way, I have no problem talking about this person because the text he sent me started with, "This is for your podcast." Oh yeah. So I was like, okay.
Wow. Thank you for the permission.
Yeah, right. I'm going to get in there. And so he's trying to raise money for a new sports league that he has invented a new sport. I won't tell you the name of it, obviously, but he's trying to.
He might want that. This is for the podcast.
Maybe exactly. Any investor out there wants to invest in a new sports league for a new sport. So I had a lot of questions because I'm a producer and I often fundraise and I'm actually looking for investments right now for a Broadway show. And so my natural curiosity got ahead of me and I had a lot of questions. And maybe those questions, and I know this about myself, sometimes that energy can maybe come off as like a little intense or critical, where I'm not trying to be. I'm actually, if he knew me or wanted to get to know me, he would know that interest was actually good, like, because I wanted to talk at the same level that I'm at. You know what I mean? Like, let's talk. Let's get in there and share some lingo, right? So, yeah. So we spent the whole date talking about his thing, because he was really my impression of the date is that he ended up like pitching. He was pitching me. And I was so bored. Oh, no. Because you know what was missing, Rachel?
Chemistry.
Yes, and his passion for it.
Oh, interesting.
Like, and you know, as a writer too, well, like if I'm trying to like get you to invest in something, tell me why you're excited about it. Why should I get excited about it? Lead with the heart. And I was getting stats and I was so bored, and I'm not a sports person anyway. And so I kept asking more questions because I didn't know what else to say. And then he kept talking more about the thing and I was like, oh my God, I'm bored out of my brain. And there was no flirting. Of course there wasn't. So I realized I went to the bathroom and I was like, why am I bored out of my brain? I'm getting pitched at. And I'm getting pitched at because I'm asking questions about him. And I was like, I'm in a trap. I don't know how to get out of this. So anyway, it wasn't a bad date. It was fine. It wasn't uncomfortable or weird. He ended up buying our food and our drinks, which was really lovely. I didn't think there was any bad energy when we left. But the next day I got a 7-paragraph text. And I'm going to read it to you. I printed it out. I'm going to read it to you because I want you to be as uncomfortable as I was. Yes.
So good.
So it's long, and I want you to hear the whole thing because I want you to be uncomfortable because I was really uncomfortable.
Sounds great.
Are you ready?
Probably
And then
not.
I cannot wait for you guys to tell me your thoughts. All right. Hey, hope all is well. This is for your podcast. Read it on your free time. I had an interesting reflection on our quote-unquote dating interaction that from my personal perspective as a man and as a designer slash researcher who has studied dating culture out of interest and concern, I realized something that I found interesting and important to me, but it also conflicts a point that you were trying to make. Women don't need to be taken care of and men don't need to think that they should take care of them. I find this interesting because what I've noticed is that apart from showing up to the date, women rarely need to put themselves out there to pitch themselves, as you mentioned. They often get to take their time during a date to observe, judge, and reflect. Well, I think men feel a sense of pressure to present themselves and continually need to defend themselves because they know they are being judged, and they are. I reflected and realized that everything that came out of my mouth about my status was of concern to you, from my job, ambitions, challenges, family dynamic, age, also perhaps silently behavioral traits, nervous reactions to some of your criticism that I'm not aware of your thoughts. Additionally, I also noted that not once did I make a judgment about you. I asked respectful questions. I was interested in what you had to say. I could care less about your age or your status in life. I also admire your adventurous spirit as a film producer and respect your hustle to your people around one of the hardest cities in the world to navigate and herd tourists. I find it all in private tour guide. I find it all impressive. In addition to your looks and your personality as a whole, you're a fun, smart, confident, sexy woman, and I appreciated your time. However, while I honestly and transparently had no judgments, I continued to think about yours, realizing that this is a big trap reason why men feel a need to take care of someone all the time, because we're constantly rejected in a manner that women may never understand and shouldn't debate. That struggle is real. The rejection comes from these judgments that we feel and have to absorb, and it shifts us to less confident or just confused because every woman is different in her acceptance, interests, and attractions. Yes, like men, but men don't use judgment to shed on to the next date. Rather than allowing me to feel appreciated for my integrity, flexibility, generous energy, calm demeanor, understanding, patient listening, and empathy, you judge me based on what I have and what I don't have in my life that would suit you or any woman as a status of where I am in order to be able to take care of a woman. I don't know what that means. And yet you told me that's exactly what I don't need to concern myself with. I find it troubling that there can be a statement in the dating world, don't look to take care of someone, when ultimately I believe that's what many women are actually looking for because they want that. Based on conversations and silent observation, and guys do too. Women recently have been saying they don't want that, and then they can't articulate what they want and why they're dating, but then expect the man to be the perfect full package anyway, and actually do want to be taken care of as they become more comfortable. I don't know what that means either. I'm further confused about this is a text. Did I mention that? Yeah. The point of dating, if the point isn't to take care of another person. I'm happily independent, but the difference between sex and dating / relationship is taking care of the person you're with. Literally, I can go for long periods and be content with my work, travel, cooking, making money. If I'm dating someone, yes, I do want to take care of that person and share many things. But I'm not going to judge her, nor will I play strong and independent. Strong, independent men definitely do not act like women when they project their strength. They actually take on more and remain calm. They don't push people away. They support – Rachel's freaking out over there. They support communities and meanwhile take care of their own business that no one else is willing to help except perhaps the woman he hopes to find. In summary – I personally believe men are on a continual audition. Women judge them as a suitable candidate for who can provide the most, and attraction is a plus. Yet today, strong, independent means to tell people to back off out of fear that they will be controlled or treated as weak. Women control too. Control is a personality, not a gender. Enjoy the transcript. Feel free to use this on your podcast. I discussed our date with 4 men and 2 women objectively. I got almost a unanimous, agreeable response to my perspective. And I appreciated the ladies for their compassion, hearing my thoughts and how I feel. Who wants to begin?
Oh, my God. Where to begin? Oh.
What bothers you the most? You're very uncomfortable right now.
Oh, my God. Besides the grammar?
Syntax?
Syntax. I mean, okay, so just the premise that you judged him sounds like – I mean, just to give – like if I were just responding as if you just, forwarded this to me and were like, can't believe this just happened, I'd be like, thank you for letting me know who you are and next. Like, thank you for saving me the time of having to wade through whatever neuroses this is, because this is not a diatribe from somebody after a date like that where they're putting throwing monologue at you.
It doesn't invite conversation.
It doesn't invite conversation.
Well, my brother said that. My brother was like, it's really interesting. Why didn't he bring this up on the date and have this as a conversation with you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, probably would have been far more interesting. I mean, this sounds like someone who's got a lot of insecurities around what he's dealing with and is projecting. There's a lot of projection happening there. And just knowing you and knowing the way that you interact with people, I can't imagine that you would have – if you walked out of there feeling like this date was a passable, non-offensive, non-dumpster fire date, which I know you've had, this being his takeaway – signifies that perhaps, his read on the whole situation was like way off. I don't know.
Will?
I was thinking a lot about – I teach high school, and I was thinking about the boys who I teach who are, trying to develop into whatever it means to be an adult and to be a man. And what a sort of sad thing it would be to come to a place where – you were doing that much projection. You felt that uncomfortable with yourself that you spent that much of your time on a date in your own head, sort of like figuring out who was winning or like figuring out.
Oh, wow.
Because it feels like that in that text. It sounds like this person was the entire time, like the talking about it as an audition, like. And you said it felt like a pitch, like it's a sort of have I defeated them yet? Have I overcome them? Like, and it's sort of like, oh man, that's really.
Well,
really
it's got
grim.
me really thinking about the idea of being judged or judging on a date, which sort of is hand in hand with what we sort of talked about as having high standards, right? So this is something my friend Jen said to me. I sent this to her. She's like #single mascot. Very strong, independent, knows her self-worth. And this is what she said to me. She said, to think that a date is not an evaluation of some form would be foolish. When he noted that you were fun, smart, confident, sexy woman, those were all judgments. Yeah. There are no less judgments because they're positive conclusions. Yeah. What if he had found you boring, insecure, and hideous? He's only upset because he thinks your judgments are negative. And I think any judgment he felt from you was less like, can he take care of me, and more, can he take care of himself? Living at home, entrepreneurial pursuits, etc., tend to cause concern because they lend themselves to instability. At some point in a relationship, a partner's inability to care for themselves will affect you. But I also asked – this is actually my guest on the last episode, but his name is Rahul. And Rahul and I met on a date, and then he was brave enough to come on the podcast with me. And he said – I texted to him because we have a lot of talks about like dating and stuff. And he wrote, male privilege showing by saying women are judging and don't feel judged, while men feel judged. Without realizing women are constantly unfairly being judged on looks, dress, whether they dress too sexy or not sexy enough.
There's so many I'm sorry. He's contradicting himself all over the place throughout this thing.
But it brings up an interesting point of like evaluation on a date. And like I found it really interesting that he thought women do not have to work hard that on a date because they're there to like I'm not really quite sure what his point was actually, but how men have to impress themselves for women. And Rahul said it really importantly. He was like, women are judged all the time. Like on how you show up, on just on the app alone, you're judged on how you look and objectively. Like that's how this whole thing is set up. It's set up on you've made a judgment about me before I met you. Yeah. I don't know. Do you guys have thoughts about that?
Well, I'm also just thinking about the idea of approaching a date as doing all this work. And like he's like, I just am imagining him preparing for the date in the way that he would prepare for like a pitch or something. And
which is what I received.
Yeah. And it's so depressed. Like, I don't know. I think it's telling that then when his pitch failed, he approached this like from this sort of really cold, faux analytical like standpoint of like, here, I'll explain to you.
Yeah. But what was it? It was like, I am a researcher of dating culture. I really appreciated that.
Concern.
I loved that he said, as a designer / researcher. It's like, I don't understand why those two things are there.
I also take a lot of umbrage to the idea that when I tell you I'm not looking for someone to take care of me, I'm not looking for someone to take care of me. I am looking.
Oh, but you really are, Rachel.
I know, exactly. And so for his comeback to be,
I know women and they actually are looking.
Yeah, and I don't think that that's the point of a relationship. There is caregiving is part of a relationship, taking into account your partner and, taking care of them at certain points is definitely part of the equation. But it definitely feels like he feels I heard someone who thinks that he's working on himself. He thinks he's forming someone who's worthy, and he doesn't feel worthy now. Like I'm working on all of this stuff and you don't see the potential or, I don't know. This is kind of tangential, but Will and I were talking actually last week about this concept that I heard on a podcast, of looking for – actually, I don't know if I did talk to you about this. Looking for a partner who is either a cornerstone or a capstone. Have you heard – did we talk about this?
I think we did talk about this.
The idea being that when you get into a relationship early in your development, you are finding a partner who will be growing with you, right? So you're like it's this idea that you are part of the architecture of life that you are moving towards together versus I have this arc that I've created for myself. All of the pieces are in place. I am a fully developed person and I'm just looking for that capstone who's going to fit right into place and hold everything.
Is that like the keystone?
The keystone.
Yeah.
Keystone, yeah.
Oh my gosh. What a great visual too.
Right? And and so the relationship specialist who was talking about this, she's the woman who wrote Mating in Captivity, like super – I can't think of her name right now. But the concept – she was talking about how as an individualistic society, one that prizes individualism over community, we have been sold this bill of goods that we need to be fully self-sustainable and I'm going to work on myself and I'm going to create this persona that is going to attract the person that is also going to be a complete human and we will then be a power couple. And I've been thinking a lot about that just in terms of my own expectations. I think we all come to the table thinking about how much work we're doing and not recognizing that we're all doing a ton of work.
Yeah.
I would hope that that people are working on themselves to the extent that I have been.
Yeah.
And in order to attract someone who is also, coming to the table having done all of this personal work, my expectations for them are going to be far higher than are realistic because I don't have an inside view into what they're actually up against. If I were giving them the benefit of the doubt for all of the things that I don't get right all the time or whatever, what somebody comes to the table with can be both that keystone and
a person's that's not fully developed.
Right. I don't think anybody is ever entirely developed.
No, it's insane.
It's crazy. And
nor would I want someone who's totally developed because then you can't grow, as you say, grow together. You're going to be like, no, I have lunch at 12:30 on Tuesdays. Yeah. Like, you can't fit into that life if that person's set in stone.
But I do think that a lot of us have been, again, like sold this bill of goods that and we've done so much work on ourselves and we're trying to hone our own.
They always say, like, don't look for a partner to complete you.
Right, exactly. I think so many of us having grown up in this like post-feminist, like with feminist mothers who are like, nobody's going to complete you. You need to be your own person and you are a complete
And there's value
person.
to that.
Absolutely. 100%. But to acknowledge that someone else is showing up with, on that road and on that self-exploration journey themselves, like we're all unfinished.
Yeah.
This sounds to me like somebody who expects to be finished and then win a partner.
Did you say win?
Win a partner, yeah.
Literally.
Yeah. Anyway.
I know, but like, is this crazy?
Yeah,
like this happened to me.
And
this is after my...
It was the next day, you said?
The next morning. I got like a had a great time text that night when I got home.
That you didn't respond to?
I did.
Okay.
I said likewise. And then this is what I got the next day. And you guys, this was my first foray back into the world of dating after taking time off. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know, guys. Humans are hard.
Humans are so hard.
I feel really bad that he really believes this. I really do. And that he asks, 4 guys and 2 women?
Yeah.
Or says that, because when did he have the time to do that between your
At work,
date?
he was like an 8:30 meeting. He was like, we have to talk about my date. I feel really bad that this was his takeaway, and he thinks that this was his perception of how I
interpreted the date
and interacted with him.
Yeah.
And I also just feel bad that this is his approach to life, where he views women. I think there's some things that are, as you said, sort of like amiss. I don't want to judge him on his personality, but I think I just found the concept of judging on a date to be really interesting. I've never really thought it through before.
Well, and thinking of it as judging each other versus just judging the experience you're having. Like, am I enjoying myself?
Yes. That's so much better said. And maybe not the word judging at all, but like an evaluation. Because, I'm constantly going, you're taking in all that information at the same time. How does that person respond to my joke? Are they laughing? Are they looking me in the eyes? Are they... are we connecting on an intellectual level? You're reading everything in that hour and a half to see if you want to even just see this person again, much less like have a relationship with them.
Yeah, the same relationship psychologist was talking about how it's optimal on these first interactions with somebody, meeting somebody cold, to go on a walk instead of sitting across from them, because you're setting up this expectation that you're like sitting across from someone, and it has this like we're staring each other down, and I'm like gauging every micro expression, and there's something much more organic about the way that people talk to each other when they're strolling. So that was one piece of advice that she gave, which I have actually just I've adopted in many dates just sort of by default, because that's it's a nice day and I like need to get outside, and I can attest it definitely it sets things up with that.
I want to do that.
Well, you can.
That's my way back in, because let me
it.
tell you, I've not been enjoying the dating app staring me when I open my phone. I love that idea. Let's go on a walk.
Yeah. And also it takes like the need to get inebriated out of or spend money.
Also, not for nothing, I felt exceptionally guilty that this is the way he feels, and then he felt compelled to pay for the date. Like I was like, if you didn't have a good time or it was weird, I felt bad that that fits into his whole like machismo of like, I'm the man and I need to take care of this. Where, but
that's on him.
That away.
That was
I
on
know.
That was his.
I know.
I have so many feelings about who pays for shit on dates, but that's a whole honestly, that's a whole other podcast.
It is. You're welcome back anytime.
Yeah, he probably didn't feel compelled. He probably, so much of this is like about power in that text, and like that gives him, he paid for it. Like he's entitled to some type of.
That's the old school way of looking at it, right? Like it was always this transactional thing that like
I'm taking
I paid
you
for the
out.
date, and now I'm owed something.
Yes.
To his point, he says everyone comes with different baggage. Everyone's coming with different. He peppers that in amidst that not like he what's the word I'm looking for?
Amidst the mess.
No. He contradicts himself. He contradicts
sure. Yeah.
He contradicts himself,
Yeah.
like surrounding that.
It's like a badly written essay.
Yeah.
I'm sure, like, especially if you teach
so
high school,
hard.
you're sort of like, I want to just correct.
Take out my
It
grading
is a
pen.
bit, and furthermore, it's a badly written essay, to be honest. But yes.
I mean, I've definitely been there where you're just grasping at straws to make sense of something that you felt awkward about, and then maybe the verbal diarrhea that follows is like not something that you want shared on a podcast, but apparently he does.
He gave me 2 permissions.
2.
But it wasn't a voicemail. It was a
So
time.
many things to sorry.
Well, thank you guys for humoring me, not just by sitting through that, which I know is painful, but by talking this through. And I don't do that for my own ego, but because I think it brought up a lot of really interesting things that I've never really talked about dating before, whether on the podcast or just in real life. So thank you guys for being my willing test subjects.
Absolutely.
Furthermore, we have concluded that this essay is null and void. I'm going to rip it up
You know what?
on the podcast.
I wish him luck. I think, it sounds like there's a well of sensitivity there, beneath a lot of his
Anger,
contradictions.
Yeah.
And just like examine your own, like to say that he was being judged.
I know.
He
needs some of the nice Rachel like introspection that you have.
Oh God.
He probably needs to not be dating for a while if this is like, it seems like
But not because he lives with his parents.
Right.
And like, that his insecurity about that, and you coming and, you're saying
It was a
it's
bad
not
match.
about that.
Yeah.
And him saying, but it was about that. It's like, that is not on you. That is all on him.
True that. Thanks, guys. I feel better.
Good. That's what we're here for.
Just use my podcast for my own therapy.
we're terrified now.
Not a bad idea.
Thank you guys so much for being here and talking about your dating lives and what's troubling you. And we're all trying to figure out this crazy journey together. So I appreciate you being here. And Will, thank you for coming and saying yes to – you had no idea what this was.
Yes.
Will literally walked in the room and was like, I don't listen to podcasts. I love that so much.
So good.
So happy to talk more with you guys later. If you ever want to come back on, you're welcome. But that's going to be it for this episode of #single, you guys. Stay, I don't know what I was about to say. I was going to say tune in next time.
You don't have a catchphrase?
Tune in next time for your next episode of #single. No, that's it. Thank you guys. Catch you later. Peace out.